Hi everyone, this is Theta from Kui Speech Pathology, and I wanted to spend a bit of time talking through some different methods and strategies that you can use to help you understand your child if they're having trouble with their speech clarity, and hopefully reduce some frustration that they may be experiencing because it's hard for others to understand what they're saying. And before I get into this video, I want to make sure I define what I mean when I'm talking about speech clarity. When I talk speech clarity, and when other speech pathologists refer to speech specifically, what we're referring to is the actual sounds that the child is pronouncing that makes up their words and sentences that they're communicating. When you look at the actual meaning behind what they're saying, so the words they select and how they put these words together into sentences, that's referring to language. And so these strategies are specific to speech clarity, yet they may or may not be helpful if you're having trouble understanding your child's language. And before we jump into this, what I want to really highlight is that if it's really hard for you to understand your child, or they're getting quite frustrated because their communication is not able to be understood, it is really important that you go to a speech pathologist and have your child's needs assessed so that they can be supported and it can be understood why they're having trouble with speech clarity, and what methods of therapy can then be implemented to help support you and the child to improve those skills. Now to jump into our strategies. So the first thing you can do, and this is helpful for children who are in their first few years of life or into that middle school age, is to ask really specific questions. And so what this can look like is either asking a yes/no question, or it can be using choices and providing those choices and options when you're asking the question, such as, do you want to do your homework now and then play, or do you want to play now but then homework and no games? Something like that, because it gives the child something they can really easily copy from you, and you also can anticipate what response that they're going to produce, and that will help you to understand their communication. So that one's really good if you need some really clear answers from your child and you need to hear what they want to say. Something else you can do, and this works quite well for children in their first few years of life, is to implement some sort of gestures or keyword sign into their communication. So gestures and keyword sign do not replace spoken language. They are used in conjunction with speech. And what that will do is give a consistent communication method between you and your child, so that you can look at their gestures and interpret what message it is they were trying to say, but they're still having an opportunity to practice their speech. And so that should reduce the frustration and lean towards more successful communication, because you'll be able to see what kinds of words the child was meaning to use. Something else you can add into, and this works for a variety of different ages, is to add context into the stories your child is trying to say. So when they come home from kindy or school, or they rush up to you and they're very excited to get out a large story, what you can do is slow them down and ask a few questions to get context about what it is they're going to tell you about. So use your WH questions, so who, what, when, where, and if they're a bit older, you can ask why, and that will set the scene for you so that you can anticipate what kinds of words and messages they will try to use, and therefore understand what they're going to say a little bit more. Something else you can do is add pictures. So this is quite simple to do, because as your child is going about their day or having some fun or doing different activities, you can be taking photos, or then you can be getting your child to actually draw out these events. And so when they want to talk about it with someone else or share, they can simply access the picture or the drawing and talk the person through what happened in that day or that situation while referring to the picture. And it gives the person a bit of picture context as to what the child was talking about, and therefore can enhance a bit of their clarity. Something else that can be added in is using visuals or symbol supports for communication. So what can be made up at home is different communication symbol boards, You can produce just a couple that go through very basic vocabulary that's applicable to a wide number of situations, such as more, stop, go, help me, or you can make up a variety of boards that are specific to a number of different situations or themes, such as one for breakfast, one for bath time, one for train and car play, and one for their favorite movie or book. And what you'll do is then every time this situation comes up for use, we whip out the communication board, and as you speak with your child, you point to the vocabulary symbols that you're referencing in your sentences and the words that you're saying. And then with a bit of time, the child can use these symbols as a point to be pointing to what they're meaning as they're speaking. And so you've got a clear idea of what choices and what keywords that they were using within their sentence. Something else that you can add in as well, and this works for children who might be in their schooling years or a little bit older, is you can add and create a communication book. And so these can be specific to a theme, or these can be general. But what they are is they're a scrapbook type book, and they contain a number of pictures on a certain theme or topic. So for example, you could have a book that's a Who Am I book, and it's a whole book dedicated to pages and pictures and little drawings that introduce who your child is, so their personality, their age, their school, and anything they like to talk about. Or you can have dedicated books on some activities they like, such as soccer or going to the beach, and fill it up with a number of pictures of the child and the child engaged in these activities. And what that means is then the child can take this book and they can go up to anyone they want to have a conversation with, and they can flick through to the appropriate pages that reference the actual message they're trying to talk about, or they can go from start to finish and have a really nice conversation that way. Something else that can be used if you've got a younger child who is in speech therapy and their therapy is going to take quite a number of years to develop their clarity, or you have an older child and speech clarity is a very slow progressing skill, what you can look to implement is an augmentative and alternative communication device, or an AAC system. And AAC systems can either come in a high technology format, so they can be a dedicated device or an app on an iPad, or they can come in a low technology format, such as a really robust picture book. And what AAC systems are is they're a really, really big communication system that contains a whole range of different vocabulary and the option to be able to put these communication symbols together into sentences. And it means that you don't have to continuously be updating the vocabulary because it's all there ready for the child, and it provides them a means to keep developing their language and communicating more and more complex ideas while their speech clarity is being developed. I hope this has been helpful for you. If you do have any follow-up questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch with our client care team who can forward our questions on. You can reach Kui Speech Pathology through Instagram, Facebook, through our website, or through email, and of course on the phone. Thank you, everyone.